Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the MartiniWorks Podcast. We are so excited to have you.
Morning.
You get a bonus discount code if you can count the amount of times I adjust my microphone in this episode.
Some
on
people
YouTube.
hate that.
I can't help it.
I see a guy that commented, he said, just weld the damn thing.
Honestly, I might.
It's insane how it is cranked.
I won't touch it
And
and watch. You're gonna hear me get quieter and quieter. Welcome back to MartiniWorks Podcast. We hope you guys and gals are ready for a fun-filled day because I think today's topic is all about rotaries and things about rotaries. So if you're looking for car parts, be sure to mod your car with your friends over at MartiniWorks.com. We appreciate and love all the support we've gotten so far, and the continued support over there has been incredible. Seeing what you guys and gals are putting on your cars is always super special for us because we love to see that you're buying the right car parts. Honestly, it's so cool to see different wheel and tire packages going out with like Kansei and Continental, seeing Works and Toyos, we saw Koenig Forged with RT615K pluses, like seeing some really cool, fun setups, and then seeing like BC Racing DS coilovers and ERs and things like that have been absolutely awesome. So we really appreciate all the love, continuing to add new products on every single day. And the last thing I'll say before they tell me to shut up so we can talk about rotaries is the build threads has been redone.
Yeah,
It's
brand new.
It is brand new. There's new filters on it. There's new ways to add your vehicle. And we'd really love it if you guys and gals haven't had a chance to go out there and check it out recently, to go out there and do so. There's a lot of really great information. We've made things way more accessible in terms of what information we have on the car so that you can help build your car. If maybe you really enjoy the way that one looks, you can kind of figure out if that's how you want your car to look. And it would mean the world for you guys and gals to go check it out. So if you haven't yet, add your car to the build threads. It'll take you 5 minutes, add some really cool photos, and it might be featured in a future build thread carousel post that we're doing out on Instagram. So with that being said, Gels, I'm sorry, rotaries.
Yeah. What you want to know?
They say that 1 in 3 dentists end up owning a rotary.
Is that true?
Yeah, because looking at us, 1 out of us ended up getting a rotary. And I can't begin to fathom what kind of demented little kid grew up saying, I want an RX8. So I need to know how this car came to be one that like you're like, I got to own it.
Honestly, it's I know we always like relate back to like movies and video games and stuff, but it was 100% video game influence, and it was specifically Need for Speed Underground 2. I don't know why. It's like a freaking like core memory. It was like, I don't know if it was like the car that you started. It was like either a car you started with or it was like one of the first cars you could unlock. And I remember like buying it from like the dealership in the game, and it like loaded in, and freaking the one like the Black Betty, but not the original song, the remake one that they did that was in the game, like was on. And I just remember like loading into the car, that song was playing, and I started driving, and it sounded so different from all of the other cars in the game. And I was like, whoa, this car is sick. And then I was like, I'm going to own an RX8 one day. And I did.
So for educate me, why does rotary sound like it do?
It's just a completely different style engine.
How does it work?
It's just, instead of pistons, obviously you got little triangles in there spinning around, and like it's so weird.
I feel like you're trying to explain to me Santa Claus, but like is it just the fact that the rotating assembly is different that causes that to sound that way?
I mean, yeah, it's really exhaust notes. They all come down to frequency and resonance. So like when you talk about like hertz and megahertz and things like that, it's really all it comes down to is like frequency and resonance. So it's like we did a video a while back and like why VQs sound the way that they do, and it's because of the way that their exhaust manifolds are, the firing order, the V6s specifically, and things like that. It's why V6s sound like V6s, inline or like 5-pot sound that the way that they do. It's why a 3-rotor sounds completely different from a 2-rotor. It's all frequency and sound waves of like how they're produced. So yeah,
and they spin pretty fast in comparison to like a naturally aspirated like V8 or something.
100%.
Like that. They rev up quick. They rev up high. Okay. What's like the average liter size of like an equivalent like RX8? What is it?
So 13B quite literally stands for like 1.3 liter.
That's a tiny little engine.
Really tiny displacement.
My Mountain Dew's 2 liter.
Exactly. So 1.3 liter. The 21B, which would be a 3 rotor, I believe would be a 2.1 liter engine, and then so on and so forth.
Do you remember, just real quick, you just said that, and it triggered like a terror of my childhood.
Sorry.
Back when people said that, non-ironically, like unironically, they would say that. They'd be like, wow, my Camaro, my that's a 2 liter. My soda pop's got more displacement than your engine.
I've literally been told that by an old guy at a car shop.
I've like that's not a joke. That happened. That's a real. Those are real words.
So those are real people
from somebody who's dead now, probably.
There's a weird phenomena with rotary engines, though.
Okay.
Old guys fucking love them.
Interesting.
Like because I've had that too. It's like, oh, you got freaking 2 liter old soda pop engine in there, 4-cylinder, but it's like. Rotaries, they fucking love them. I got more compliments from old like dudes at gas stations than anything else in any other car that I've ever owned, because they're like, that's got that wankle in it, doesn't it? They always call them wankles.
Yeah,
they never call them rotaries. They don't got the wankle in it. And they're like,
engine.
They remember that from
my buddy
World
had
War
a
II.
snowmobile that had one of them in it. That was the coolest shit. You know, it was like they were throwing them in like motorcycles and stuff, like the 70s and like 80s. I think they were throwing them like motorcycles, snowmobiles, all sorts of shit. There were some like even some like RC engines that were like little rotary engines and stuff too. So
that's insane.
Like, I don't know. They have like a respect for them almost, even though it is a really tiny engine.
It is kind of cool. Since you got one, obviously, inherently, I kind of learned more about them, and it was so interesting to see that how much stuff actually did use rotary engines and how much like more common it was than what I originally thought. I always thought of like the RX-7, RX-8, cars with rotaries, that's about it. And there's really like a world of rotaries. They're not necessarily efficient or reliable or make a ton of power, but they are an engine.
That's the one thing I've always had such a tough time trying to love about them, is just when I look at the amount of work it takes to own a rotary engine. I think there was a period of time where it was very much like, it's hard, it's unreliable, they're boring, they're slow, they're stinky, don't buy one. But now, people are going out of their way to buy them, and they enjoy the craft of keeping them alive.
So,
why do you think that is?
It's because I think people are realizing like where they belong, essentially. It's like, it's really easy to look at something like the FDRX7, right? It's a 90s JDM legend icon of a car. They're reaching well over 50 grand for a really, really nice one. They're becoming that like iconic car. And obviously I always wanted one of those too. And it's like people talk about like rotaries. It's like, oh, RX-7, FDRX7 is like always like the first thing that comes to mind. And it's like, yes, it's a fantastic car. And when the RX-8 came out, obviously it got a lot of shit at first and still does today, obviously, because of out of the gate from the factory, it was not the most reliable thing. The S1s had a lot of issues with them, oiling issues, obviously the apex seals, that kind of stuff, because of the oiling issues, some cooling issues. They basically took like what worked, because like the FDRX7 had the 13B turbocharged. They took still a 13B, but they're like, we need to make it into like the 21st century, so it has to abide by like more emissions stuff. It has to be more efficient. It has to do all these other things. So they didn't use a turbocharger. They didn't do all this other stuff. They tried to like make it have more technology, and in turn it caused a lot more issues.
Sure.
Which is why like the Renesis and the Series 1s got so much shit. Also, along with that, the tuning potential of the RX-8s out of the factory was next to nothing. Like, Mazda was doing this thing in like the early 2000s where it was just the cars that were coming out, like, were built to like their full potential, like right out of the gate. Like, they didn't leave much room for like improvement, which was cool.
Yeah.
But as like people who are into modifying cars and stuff, it's like, oh well, look at how good of a car you get base. What can we do with it? And Mazda's like, no, we already pushed it.
She's
like,
tapped out.
She's tapped out. Like, so unless you're adding boost or like fixing a lot of, like dumping a ton of money into that car, power wise, you're not really looking to get much, which is why the RX-8 never really hit with a lot of people right away,
because I didn't know that.
It was just compared to everything else out there, the potential just wasn't there. But where the potential lies now, and why I think people are really coming back around to it, is because they realize that the chassis that the RX8 is a fucking phenomenal chassis. It's super freaking rigid. You can throw a ton of speed at it. Like, you can like really rip on it on the track, which I think why you see a lot more of them showing up at the track, whether it's got a rotary in it or not. People are choosing the chassis because it's so good. It's really balanced. The suspension and like the way that car handles is wild, insane. And outside of the engine itself and everything that brought with it, like the car itself is super good.
So if you were to go back in time, knowing what we know about the RX8, what would you change about the engine?
About the engine?
Yeah, because it sounds like everything else with the car is fantastic. And I would argue, I think when you clean up like the headlights, the tails, keep it like nice OE+, I still think the RX8 is the closest looking production car that kind of looks like a prototype car out of anything that Mazda's like really released. It has this like little, it has like a little aura to it. You know, when you see like a clean, well put together, like Japanese wheels, lower just a little bit, nice and it looks super good.
I know what you mean.
So good.
Yeah, like the angles on it were unlike.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like it was like really rounded and accentuated.
Kind of quirky, but it's good.
Yeah.
It works.
It works. The whole thing works together.
I will say, like the R3, like the latest, the ones that went up to like 2011 or whatever, like the last ones that came out, like the R3 editions, like those are by far my favorite. They really figured out like the actual like facelift and like aero on it. I think like they really nailed it. The series one, like I had, it's very soft, it's very round, especially like the front bumper and things like that, and it gets a little bit of that kind of like frog look to it. Essentially, I don't like it just has like that kind of like look to it, especially in the front. Yeah, I know what you mean. 100%.
Yeah. It's a cool looking car, and I remember it's like the RX8 sits in these world of cars that came out. They're kind of not well received, and now they're kind of like coming back into the limelight. But then that also makes me think that FDs are $50,000, and that's a lot of money. But like FCs and FBs, especially FBs, personal opinion, they're so good to look at.
Yeah,
they're so
100%.
gorgeous.
They really are.
But are they actually any good? Like from what you know about like the rotary engine and like the FCs and stuff, like are they the same as the FDs? Are they different than the FDs?
Yeah, so they're when you get into like the FBs and stuff specific, like the first gens and stuff, they're carbureted. So they're 12As. So they're a 1.2 liter, 2-rotor, and they're carbureted.
Not only are they slow as balls, but now they're carbureted too.
So that throws another, thing
it's
into the mix.
2-rotor?
Yeah, 2-rotor.
I'm convinced they just took the engine out of some small random plane in like Germany. We're like, let's just throw this in the car, and then they just threw it in a Mazda.
The FD-RX7 is a it's 2-rotor. 2-rotor. So why did they make the RX8 1-rotor then?
They didn't. It's 2.
Oh, it is 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's all like essentially like the same, the growth of that. So it's like you have the 12As, which are 1.2 liter carbureted. We got into like some of the later years of the RX7. They switched to like the 13B, which was still a 2-liter, 2-liter, little more displacement, 1.3 liter, 2-rotor, 1.3 liter. Sorry. And then they went to obviously like electronic fuel injection, things like that, turbocharging, all that sort of stuff. Took this essentially like the rotors themselves and like that, like they're not, as far as I know, from like the FD, which is like the 13B REW, to the Renesis 13B, which was in the RX8. Not a lot of the parts were interchangeable, like the rotors and like the housings and stuff, I believe were different, or like the irons or something were different, which is why, like, kind of coming back to the question of what would you change different about like the engine or something like that. I would honestly just have taken the REW out of the RX-7 and just threw it into the car, made it up with the 6-speed instead of the 5-speed that came with the FD, and just threw it in the RX-8. So you have the turbocharged REW, which is what a lot of people do. Perfect.
Do you think it would have sold a lot more and been a lot more popular in one of those like iconic cars if it would have came turbocharged from the factory?
I think so. I really do.
Why the hell did they remove the? Why were they like, oh, turbo, this is cool. FD is now iconic, crazy. They're like, let's release the RX8, the new number, the new model, and they're like, but let's just take that turbo out of it. That was too much fun.
Like, it was kind of, I mean, not to take it away from the rotary stuff, but that kind of happened with a couple different brands, because Toyota did that with their MR2. When Toyota went into releasing their third generation, which was like the MRS, it was by like all technicalities slower, heavier, wider, and nobody really liked it. It wasn't until probably the last 5 years or so where people were like, oh my God, the MRS is like the greatest platform of all time. It's like, yeah, but for 15 years it wasn't. Everybody hated it. And now it seems like that kind of happens with like the RX8 and things. I don't know if there's just like, maybe it was emissions, maybe it was like America saying no.
Yeah, I knew you guys were going to have some questions. Listen, I owned RX8 for like 5 years. I'm not a rotary god, but I do know my way around. But I kind of looked, yeah, right. I did look just to kind of see like why did the RX8 not come turbocharged? One of them definitely was emissions. Coming into the 2000s, they did see a lot higher like emissions restrictions and things like that. Also, the porting of the engine, so specifically like the exhaust porting. They used side port exhaust in the Renesis, so the RX8's engine, which is where I was saying like those parts don't interchange, and that caused a lot higher exhaust temps and a lot of other issues like more back pressure and things like that that just wouldn't be able to run a turbo effectively. Which is why like you do see people turbo like Renesises and stuff, but not very often.
Yeah.
And they usually have to do a lot of other stuff to it. So you usually see it like, okay, well, then they ported it out different or something like that.
Okay, explain to me like I'm 5.
Mm-hmm.
I hear it all the time. Bridgeport.
Yeah.
Street port.
Mm-hmm.
Port.
Yeah, all these ports.
Yeah.
No boats.
No boats, only wankles.
Yep.
What is that process? Do you know what that is?
Yeah. So essentially, like, because the engine doesn't have valves in it, right? Like you don't have intake valve, you don't have exhaust valve.
Yes.
It's just so you have ports. And essentially when the engine or the rotor rotates, it allows and pulls in the air through the intake port, and then it pushes it out through the exhaust port. And those ports are on like the plates between the housings. So when it swoops back around, essentially, it'll force it out that exhaust port. Typically when you port a rotary engine, you're either making that port larger or kind of like mooning it out a little bit to like, you know, kind of like how you would like port like a head to like have better flow. Mm-hmm. Bridge porting is essentially what it sounds like, because you're creating an additional port for the exhaust, leaving just a little bit of gap between. Now you have 2 exhaust ports and leaving a little gap between it, so it's like a little bridge between them. And that's where you get like the rap, 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 like really like
The best sound in the world.
What's
really
the
notable
benefit of that?
It sounds sick.
It
dude.
does sound sick. I'm not disagreeing. It sounds amazing, but like other than sound,
it's a power thing. So it just be like opening up like an exhaust.
Yeah, you're getting more air. You're getting
just
more
less restriction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you make it big, you get big power.
Yeah. So wait, what's the point of the bridge then in it? Why do they make like a separate one versus just making that a hole that much bigger for the exhaust port?
I'm not entirely sure.
Probably just for a sound.
Honestly,
Yeah,
that
maybe,
that doesn't surprise me, because I know when you go to like port something, and I might get slander in the comments, but like it's actually a relatively basic thing to do. If you can do it right, like if you know how to do it and you can take your time, like you literally take a little cutout and like draw what you're gonna shave off of this thing, and then you go in, you do it, you clean it up, you throw it back in, and it's done. It's like something you can literally do with like any sort of
yeah, I know.
I
I
tool back in your
on the block on the S2K. I seen you ported the side of that.
Yeah, I did port it. Unfortunately, did not use the diagram that was supplied.
And
blew up the motor.
I gotta clarify too that it is the intake port that gets bridged. It's not the exhaust.
Oh.
Intake port.
Yeah.
Wop 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 wop.
Yeah, so it's like the port that brings in the air into the housing and everything. That is what gets ported. It's not the exhaust.
I'm wondering if
Still
like
same question though. I don't get the bridge.
I'm wondering if like maybe there's something to do with like wavoba weight of the intake sound. Sorry, I had to. I can't see it, Ronnie Rag. I cannot call that out. But they are cool. I think that kind of goes into, you look at some of what Mazda did in their motorsports history with the rotary engine, but we'll talk about that in the next segment. We do want to give a huge shout out to our partner, the MartiniWorks Podcast, Continental Tire, for sponsoring this. Continental Tire is doing an incredible job at getting ready for fall time, ladies and gentlemen, because guess what happens after fall?
Winter.
Depression. And the way to fix that is the Viking Contact 8. If you haven't had a chance to sneak up and pick up your winter tires, I hate to say it, now's the time. especially before the snow comes. Nobody wants to get stuck on all seasons when the first 8-inch blizzard, which is a lot, comes to Wisconsin. So if you're looking for some tires, Continental has the Viking Contact 8. We also have the DWS 06 Plus and the ECS 02. Some fantastic tires. And of course, if you're looking to get something for your SUV, we also have stuff for that as well. We know a lot of you guys and gals have a second car that you drive on Mondays through Fridays. We actually do support that stuff as well. So if you ever need tires, we highly recommend Continental Tire. And we want to thank Continental for sponsoring the MartiniWorks podcast.
All right, you sent me on a wild goose hunt, chase, whatever you want to call it. I had to figure this out, and it actually 100% makes sense why they keep that piece of metal there. So,
For the Bridgeport.
What does a Bridgeport do, Gels?
Bridgeport allows for a lot more air intake into the rotor housing. The
Yeah,
problem is
bigger hole.
When you make bigger hole,
Yeah.
you have this triangle that's spinning in there.
Right.
On the edges of the triangle, you have these things called apex seals and
Yep.
side seals. Very, very important. Really talked about a lot.
Yes.
You don't want those going over an open area in the plate, right? So if you expand that port, it gets too big, that apex seal or side seal is going to go over that, and it could shift in, shear off, that kind of stuff. It's not against like a flat plate. So they keep that bridge there essentially, so it keeps pressure and doesn't allow that seal to move, and then they go on the outside of it, mill out an additional spot to let more air in. That way it's still keeping the seal where it needs to be, providing what it needs to,
Interesting.
but
Okay.
allowing more air in. So essentially in the path of where it rotates, they want to keep material there so it doesn't affect anything.
My brain is putting together the information.
I have a
And yet,
picture if you'd like to see.
I love pictures. I just don't understand how
Here you go.
the bridge reinforces.
Right there.
Oh,
So essentially this guy right here, this little eyebrow that they typically call it, that's not there. This is the normal port.
Yep.
And that seal travels along the outside of that. You want to expand this, make it bigger, but you still want the seal to ride along.
Needs to
the
be
flat
sealed, yeah.
part. So they
Makes
just keep,
sense.
this is basically the path where that goes.
and then they just cut on the other side.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really smart. So bridge porting must have come after street porting. They must have realized at some point they were like, this is, we are going through apex seals bad.
Yeah.
We need to figure this out.
Yeah, because you can see where like in that where they cut the normal port
Yeah.
as well. So that's typically like your street port, right? Just making the porter.
Which everybody should do at least once in their life. If you own
I
a Rotary,
really want to do that at some. I really do want to just build a rotary engine at some point. I
Is
think
it
it would be
really-
so much fun.
they put rotaries in just about everything.
'Cause they're-
You could start by putting it in something else. Start small, like an RC plane.
Yeah.
And then
Honestly,
start leveling up.
You
Motorcycle.
gotta do that.
I do
Then a
have to do that.
car.
I've been
You
trying
want
to.
a rotary bike?
Rotary bike would be sick.
Rotary bikes were a thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They put
were.
rotaries in just about anything, didn't they? Anything and everything.
Yeah, like I said, my dad, like I talked about, like, oh, buddy had a snowmobile or whatever. It's like, yeah, they had snowmobiles with rotaries in them. They were pretty neat.
They thought it was the next big.
Well, fun fact about the Mazda, or at least, sorry, the rotary engine or the Wankel engine, is that its success had a lot to do with their ability to license the engine and the engineering of it. So when it was the 50s and 60s, the Wankel engine was licensed out to different vehicle manufacturers for them to use. Mercedes, I think, was actually one of the first vehicle manufacturers to purchase the ability to use the Wankel engine. And then they tried to use it, it never went to production, and then they just slated the
the
project.
Mazda's like, fuck it, we'll ball.
Fuck it. The Mazda balled, and I think they got it right. Because what they were trying to do is there's so many companies trying to make it huge, like trying to make it a big, quote unquote, like motor. And Mazda kept their stuff like really relatively compact and lightweight. Because I don't know if it was the Eunice or something like that, but it was like one of the early Mazdas had a rotary engine. And it was inherently massively successful because the whole car was so light, because it made a lot of Japanese restrictions really easy for that to pass. It was a low liter size, which meant the actual vehicle emission tax from Japan was super, super small. And so it was a very like easy vehicle to own in Japan from a financial standpoint because it was everything about it was tiny.
So there's actually like quite a few notable like rotary motorcycles. Yamaha had the RZ201, which is a twin rotor, 660 cc, making about 66 horsepower, 56 pound-feet of torque. That's pretty neat.
A Bridgeported motorcycle, go crazy.
That would
Yeah.
be pretty
Could you
crazy.
imagine?
So Yamaha had one. The Kawasaki had the X99, which is kind of sick. That's a sick
That's
name.
so crazy.
That's like a 900cc twin rotor. This Norton,
A liter rotary.
Norton had a bunch of them, including some like sport bikes that looked absolutely insane. Suzuki had the RE5. This is the one that I was thinking of. That's a single rotor, 500cc or 498 single rotor, 62 horsepower out of a
That's
single
crazy.
rotor.
Whenever I think of rotaries, I only think of Mazda. I don't
Yeah.
think of anyone else. And it's like everyone kind of, not everyone, but
like-
a lot of brands did dabble.
Yeah, but like the 588cc Norton F1 making 90 horsepower. Look at that thing. That thing's fucking
Honestly,
sick.
it looks really good.
Yeah.
I could see Tom Cruise driving that in like a
Honestly,
Mission
yeah, that does
Impossible.
look like
Probably did.
it's like a
Top Gun.
James Bond or like Mission Impossible. Yeah.
80s and 90s motorcycles were some of the best looking motorcycles in my opinion for all the nostalgia reasons.
Iconic. Dude,
Just the
cars,
massive bubble like single headlight with like the shroud that was way too long.
crazy color liveries,
Awesome
purple,
livery,
lime
yeah.
green, yellow, and purple together. Like they went buck wild. Dude, the 90s were a wild time. Like, not saying it because I was born during the 90s, but like legit, like the best cars, the best bikes, everything
They're just
was
doing
Well,
cool shit.
Everybody
McDonald's
remembers
toys.
McDonald's was going hard in the 90s.
Especially the toys.
Yeah, the people, everybody always talks about the cars of the 90s being so incredible, especially, but all those same companies were doing motorcycles at the same time, and some of
Or
the
had a part in it.
yeah, some of the coolest bikes came from the 90s as well. I just think it's interesting. I just want to say that I'm really upset that McDonald's doesn't have like play places anymore. I think that's
Yeah,
really silly.
but I get it.
I
They were
don't.
really gross.
They
They
were
really,
pretty gross.
they're nasty.
Everything's really gross.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I'm fine. I played at play places. I made it out.
So help me understand this for just a quick second.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
get back to rotaries because we just talked about rotaries and all the ways that they should probably be enjoyed.
Yeah.
Small, compact, lightweight vehicles, small chassis, small motorcycles, blah, 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 blah. Then they said, well, what if we just put this in an endurance race car like the 787B and the 767B? How the hell do you even make that jump? Like, why did Mazda, do you even know why Mazda would do such a thing like that? It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I don't. They thought like they really thought that they had something with it, and honestly, they in a way did, right? Like those cars got down and like they broke a lot of records and did a lot of cool shit, and they sounded fucking incredible, and it was just very, very unique, different, and honestly, it's like, what other brand was really doing something? They're like, we don't want to use the normal internal combustion engine. We want to do something to like basically changing the entire premise of everything that we knew about how cars worked and how engines worked. And we're like, yeah, we want to go with the new thing.
We should
I
do
thought
that
was really
again.
cool.
We need a square spinning around or something. We did circles, triangles. I think it's the squares time.
Pentagons, I don't know. Hexagons.
Do you think the rotaries have like a future in something like realistically? I know like they just are plagued with
Yeah.
emission issues.
Yeah.
Like that's their big thing. They're just not
Oh,
emission
and
friendly.
reliability issues.
Yeah,
So they
it's-
say.
Yeah, I think they do have their place in something, and I think that's like you look at Mazda now. It's like they still are putting a lot of research and money in like rotary development and stuff. But if you look at like what is like the new CX-30, I think it was that they announced. It was like the big deal. It was like the first car with like a rotary engine in it since the RX8, and it's like it's a range extender for essentially it's like a little generator
Yeah.
for their EV. So it's like a little one rotor, I think, or is it a two rotor? Can't remember. It's a little rotary engine that they have in there specifically just to power the motor.
To power the power.
Yeah, to power the power, which is unique, and I think they've put a lot of time and stuff into that. And I mean, as much as I'd love to see a new full rotary powered sports car from Mazda, I don't think it's ever going to happen.
It still boggles my mind that Mazda invented or at least coined the Skyactiv technology. And when I was a kid, I thought that was just like the coolest thing in the entire world. The regenerative braking system, that's what it was, right?
The Skyactiv?
Yeah, because like Mazda's always kind of been at the forefront of doing these funky little things with their cars to make them like slightly more optimized, even though they're working on the basis of something that might traditionally just not be as well accepted. I know like the rotary they keep trying to work on, the Skyactiv technology that they did.
Skyactiv R is
Yeah.
the rotary one, yeah.
Skyactiv R.
Skyactiv in general is just like their basically line of technology. So it probably could include like the regenerative braking.
Yeah.
But it's the whole suite of things to make things more efficient.
Yeah, it's super cool. I think Mazda is one of those fun little crazy uncles that is in the car manufacturing space that I just feel is always just one thing is way off in left field that they're working on just for shits and giggles.
Giles, after owning a Rotary for 5 years, what would you say is like one of the biggest myths about having a Rotary?
One of the biggest myths about it?
Mm-hmm.
Man, the reliability aspect of it, honestly. I mean, yes, they're completely different. Yes, they're, I would say, more prone to having an issue long term, right? Like that's just how they are, but it's been kind of looked upon as like, oh, you buy a rotary engine, it's going to blow up on you every weekend.
Yep.
And it's like, one, they don't necessarily blow up, they just lose their compression. Like you never like blow a hole in the side of the rotary. Like it does not affect.
I have.
And it's really not, like I said, I owned the car for 5 years. Granted, I did get a pretty clean example of one and had, lower miles, had right around 50,000 miles. Still stock everything, no rebuild, anything like that. I don't know what the previous life of it before was as far as like pre-mixing and things like that. But I would say I took really good care of that engine. I researched everything that I needed to do, make sure I could get the most out of it. Talked with a bunch of people that like reached out to me to like help out with things. Did a lot of preventative stuff for it, specifically for like the S1 year like I had that had like some of the oiling issues and things like that. And I never had any issue with it whatsoever. And I drove that car a lot.
You drove it to Gatlinburg.
I drove it to
And
Tennessee and back.
And back.
I would drive it pretty much every day, all summer. Did a lot of road trips with it. It was basically like my summer daily. Took it to work every day.
Yeah, never once thought twice about
it. And
it.
it never like, oh, they flood on you. It's like they don't flood on you.
Explain that. What is flooding with that?
So like with the older rotaries and stuff like that, just like any car that you have that has like a warm-up cycle on it, when you start it up, it wants to like dump a lot of fuel in it. The RPM like runs higher, things like that. So it's pumping a lot more fuel in because it just started. It's cold. With rotaries, it's like in the past, and there's this thing where sometimes, and even the RX8s, like they do flood. It's like, oh, you start it up, but then you shut it off right away. It's like you get a lot of fuel sitting in that essentially like the combustion chamber, like the engine.
Yeah.
And then it gets really hard to turn over or won't start. It's flooded, so it has too much gas in it.
What do you do once it's flooded?
So there's a deflooding procedure that the RX8s had, where I never had to do it, so I never had to worry about it. But I think it was like if you like held the brake in, but also like held the gas to the floor and then like cranked it over for a certain amount of times, and it shut like the coil pack off or whatever. Like it didn't try to fire, it just got all the fuel out of it. Otherwise you go in there, take the spark plugs out and just turn it over and just shoot all the fuel out of it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's so quirky.
Yeah,
but they got to be fairly reliable. I don't know if you guys seen the story. It was somewhat recent of there's an older lady that bought a Mazda RX-7 and owned it since she was young all the way until she was older, and she wanted to like give it back to Mazda when she was done with it because she had such a good time. She enjoyed the car so much that like as her thank you was returning, and it was in pristine condition, perfect. But she said the car was amazing. She always loved driving it. It was always good. You think a little old lady, would have issues or something like that, would be willing to give the car back because she enjoyed it so much and wanted to say thank you? No, it was a phenomenal car. And I think they do get a bad rep because people don't know about them, and they do things and then they run into weird quirks and they don't know how to solve those real quirks that pop up, and then they sit in yards and turn into rust buckets, and then that's where that bad rep comes from. It's just, you got to take the time to appreciate and learn what you're getting into, and I think some people just aren't willing to do that.
100%. And to be fair, it's like the RX8 specifically, like when it first came out, put a lot of that bad taste in people's mouth because of the issues that the Series 1 had. So like the oil porting issues that they had, the oil metering pump issues that they had. Essentially, it's like OMP.
I remember this.
Yep. Because
somebody got mad at me. He's like, it doesn't have issues. The OMP does not have issues technically. It's something else. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know.
Well, It does, because they go out and there's no real way to tell that they go out until your car blows up and it's like, oh, it started itself with oil. So it's like it's things like that. It's like, to keep a rotary engine happy, you got to keep it well lubricated and you got to keep it cool. You do those two things.
Same, brother.
You do those two things, you're pretty much set.
Isn't it a thing to beat on them a little bit too? You want to like rev them out?
There's a thing with like the carbon buildup and things like that, because the exhaust is so freaking hot, and it's like they are so technically inefficient that you are putting a ton of fuel into like the exhaust and things like that. And obviously with like the emissions stuff, like that's why I say, like, the best thing you can do for a Mazda RX8 is to take the catalytic converter out of it. Because if that catalytic converter clogs, which they do, it will also cause a lot of issues.
Dang.
I've heard this recently on TikTok, so the credibility is obviously questionable at best, but there's been a bunch of people that have started to say pre-mixing isn't good for rotaries. Where did that come from?
I have no fucking idea. I don't know why or where that came from. My thing was I pre-mixed the RX8 ever since I had it. And along with that too, I know we've talked about it, but I did what was called a Zone adapter. So specifically the Series 1, like I said, had some issues with the oil metering pump. So basically what the oil metering pump is a pump that was powered by like the rest of the engine, and that was what was responsible for lubricating the seals in the engine. So the apex seals, everything. That it was the pump that basically went to the oil ports, squirted the oil into the engine, pulled from the oil pan. That's why it's like, oh, RX-8s burn oil. It's like, yes, they do. They're designed to do that. That's this, like a two-stroke style thing where, I know people hate when I say that, but it's like 2 strokes. You have oil and
you
gas
mixed.
Yeah. So essentially what I did is, because the oil that you have in the car is like a really thin oil, essentially, because it had to be injected and burned. When you put the Zone adapter in, it basically blocked off the oil pickup for the metering pump and allowed you to have a separate reservoir of premix oil. So it routed to a new reservoir. I had it filled up with like 1.5 quarts or like 2 quarts of premix oil, and instead of pulling used oil from the oil pan to lubricate everything, it was constantly pulling fresh oil to inject and burn. So it was a lot cleaner. You didn't have to worry about any contaminants in it, anything like that. But it also allowed me to swap out the oil in the oil pan for a much heavier weight oil, which was a lot better for like the bearings and things like that. Because there was a lot thinner oil and stuff in there before.
Yeah, the heat gets to it.
Yeah, the heat gets to it a lot easier. It's not great for the bearings and stuff like that. So when I switched to like a 1040 or like 1540 oil that I put in the car. Much healthier for the bearings. I was pulling fresh oil the whole time. And then I could always see if the oil metering pump were to shit out, I could see that, hey, I'm not pulling any oil out of here. What's going on? Because that'd be something I'd check every time I fill up. But on top of that, I would also do about half, because I was doing that with the Zone adapter, I was doing about half the recommendation of the race amount of premix that you're supposed to put in per tank. So I think it was recommended you put it like 8 ounces of premix in per tank. I was doing like 4. So I don't know where that all came from. Might be a coping mechanism because they don't want to spend money on premix. And they're like, oh, I'm fine. I don't know what it is. It's not necessary. It's like, no, it's not, but it definitely doesn't hurt.
Yeah. Interesting. What would you attune, or what would you relate owning a rotary to be like in like some other hobby?
Ooh. That's a good question.
This is a question for the table.
I feel like it's like having one of those weird gaming consoles that doesn't get all the main titles.
Like Genesis?
Yeah. Like it was cool.
Yeah.
It was popular. Your friend had one, but you just always had the N64 or something. I think it's like that.
You remember that? What was it? Was it the GameCube?
What's wrong
with the GameCube?
Yeah, what's up with the GameCube, dude?
I was always so jealous because my friend had one.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I had the little mini a mini disc. I thought it was sick as hell.
It was so weird. I remember the first time because I didn't have a GameCube as when they first came out, and my friend got one, and seeing that little disc, I was so confused. Yeah, that's a good one because that little disc is kind of like the Rotary. Yeah. What the fuck is that? You still got to pay $50 for that?
Yeah.
You don't get a deal.
Half a
smaller?
game?
That's about right.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I would almost relate it to like film photography.
Yeah, that's
You
a good
know,
one.
where it's
Yep,
like
yep.
it's a little bit more work. Is there an easier way to do it all? Sure, but you're doing it because you love the art of the thing that you get to do, and you have to really practice it.
It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was good.
Like woodworking. It's like, nah, I'll just do it myself. I really like what that is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it the hard way.
I'll just.
I can do that.
I can do that.
Woodwork enthusiasts are just nothing more than like reincarnated like beavers, in my opinion. They're just constantly. We have one because they're working on the booth for Gatlinburg because we have a really special booth that we're doing. And I swear to God, every single time I talk to him, he's like, "We can make that out of wood." And I'm like, "Brother, I don't want the entire booth to be made out of wood." He's like, "It's just so versatile. You can do, it won't even look like wood. We'll paint it black." It's like, it's still black wood. Anyway, sorry. We do have to take a small break, but not for talking about our next partner, the MartiniWorks Podcast. Dakota, take it away.
Fortune Auto, they make some fantastic coilovers. You could even put them in an RX8 if you wanted. So if you guys head on over to MartiniWorks, you can go check out what we all have Fortune Autos for. They have a pretty wide catalog now at this point, so they fit a lot of makes and models, which is great news. And then if you need something custom too, we can work through that. They're hand-built in Virginia in the United States and assembled in-house there. You can upgrade them with Swiss springs. Down the road, you can have them upgraded, fixed, re-put back together, which is nice. And also the coilovers can grow with you, so if you get like a base set and you want to advance them in the future, well, go ahead right there and do it. I've had Fortune Autos. I've used them from everything from slamming my Evo 10 to the ground and making it not functional, and it rode fantastic still, to doing more of like an aggressive setup on my Supra and taking it auto crossing into the track, and it did all of that amazing. And I would also drive that car across the country, so it wasn't just like, yeah, it works really good on the track, but daily driving it breaks my back. Complete opposite. It was phenomenal. And that digressive piston that they use and how they set those up is the main reason that they can perform phenomenal on the track and then also do phenomenal daily driving. So if you guys are interested, check out Fortune Auto 500s over at MartiniWorks.com. So after everything, Joes, would you own another Rotary again?
1,000,000%.
Really?
I'd do it in a freaking heartbeat.
At what price of an RX8, in your opinion, does it become not worth it?
Like cost wise?
Yeah, like what's the best price for an RX8, and what would you be willing to spend knowing how much experience you have on the platform?
I'd say, so if I were to get into another RX8 specifically, I would be on the lookout for a low mileage R3. So like the later year, like facelifted ones. I would be willing to spend probably about 12.
Yeah, it's a good deal. I mean, that you can
So
a good car for that much.
I bought mine in 2020. So like in the peak of kind of everything going crazy, like in the bubble. Bought mine in 2020, little less than 50,000 miles I think was on it when I got it. I bought it for $6,000.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah. Like they were stupid cheap, and I think they've gone up a little bit since then. But there's this funny thing with RX8 specifically because of like the flooding thing. Also, the starters and like the series ones tend to like go really weak. So like they'll turn over, but it's like not strong enough to start the car. So it's like people think that it blew up, cooked, these cars blow up, it's cooked, it's not starting, it's blown up. But they don't compression test it, and it turns out to be completely fine. It actually just has a weak starter. So
that's
they're like, hey, just come get this thing off my lawn for $500. Dude, there's so many stories of that happening. It's crazy. People are like, oh yeah, I saw this on Marketplace for stupid cheap because they said the engine was blown, but I went and compression tested it and it was good, and just needed the new starter. So
do you think Rob Dahm is onto something with all of his builds, or do you think he is just
insane, part
of the cult of the insanity that is a rotary engine?
No, I love what he's doing. I think it's so sick. One of the coolest things, in my opinion, is like how essentially modular these engines are. Like you talk about Like there's really nothing like you look at a 2-rotor to a 3-rotor, 4 or 5 or 6-rotor engine. It literally just doop, 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 you just add another
stack 'em.
Yeah, you just stack it. The only limitation really is the eccentric shaft that like runs through the whole thing. So it's like you get up to like a 6-rotor engine. That eccentric shaft that is causing all of those rotors to spin is getting really long. It's getting really expensive and getting really, really damn hard to balance and like keep in one piece.
What do you think like a 6-rotor would get for MPG? I know that's not the point, but I'm just curious.
Dude, it's gotta be just
Yes.
Because what were you getting in your RX-8?
awful. It was probably like around like 10 to 12 miles per gallon.
You could be driving a Hummer H2, brother.
I was keeping
Peak
up.
recession times,
Dude,
bro.
it was so fucking funny because it wasn't funny. It sucked. It cost me like $400 in gas to drive to Tennessee. And
Oh my
I-
god!
I was keeping up. So Dustin was pulling a trailer with his LBZ.
Yep.
I was stopping just as much as him to fill up, and I was like almost making it.
I remember.
half door.
I remember when we got to the cabin when you drove it that year, and we finally sat down. We were like having a beer, and we were like just decompressing from the drive. And I remember you kind of he looked very like distant. And I'm like, "You okay?" And he goes, "No, I just did the math. It would have been cheaper to have somebody trailer my car
It
down
literally would have been cheaper.
and drive it
because
myself.
I did it that next year and it was about the same price.
Oh my god!
I trailered it the following year. It was about
Yeah,
the same
but
price.
you can say that you drove
Yeah.
your bagged RX-8 from
Yeah.
Wisconsin to Tennessee and back and had no rotary issues.
No rotary issues. Had rotor issues, but
brake rotor.
different part doesn't
Caliper.
count.
Yeah, that
Circle,
sucked.
not triangle.
Yeah.
What do you think
circle's
would
bad.
be
Triangle calipers.
triangle calipers, square motor? What do you think is the best kind of person to buy an RX-8 in 2025? Like, what would you say if you're this kind of person, you'll love this car?
I'd say if you're that kind of person who's so for me it was like the RX-8 was like the car of firsts for me. It was my first rotary car. It was the first car I put on air suspension. It was the first car I did over fenders, like a wide body, quote unquote. First car I wrapped. First car I did any of that too. And I've always liked that kind of stuff. I've always liked to be just a little bit different in the stuff that I look at. I thought it was unique. I was like, no one else is really doing this like right now. And I've always had a fascination for rotaries. I just thought it was cool.
Yep.
I like figuring out how things work. So it's like, if you're the kind of person that likes that unique shit a little bit, is not afraid to go into a deeper understanding of how something works to make sure that it works well. And maybe get your hands a little dirty if something does need to be done about it. 100%.
What's the worst kind of person to own a Mazda RX-8?
Someone who just the worst person to own a Mazda RX-8 is someone who uses a vehicle as a utility and has to drive an hour to work every day.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd be going to work just to pay
And
to
takes their
for
cars
gas.
to like a 5-minute oil change place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that don't get an RX-8.
That's fair.
I would like to see someone take an RX-8 to one of them 5-minute oil change places. Like, is it weird at all doing an oil change on those, or is it still pretty much the same thing?
It's really standard.
Oh, okay.
It's just like you normally would. But
Gotcha.
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like not only if you have like a typical setup with like your RX-8, like not only is it important to change your oil every so many miles because oil like starts to get dirty, break down, that kind of stuff. It's like you're also burning it,
Yep.
like intentionally. So
Yeah, you gotta stay up to date on your
yeah,
maintenance.
it's not like one of those things
Literally
like
have
I'll
to.
run it for That's why it got so weird with like the synthetic oils and stuff like that. It's like, oh, you can run this oil 20,000 miles, and it's
No,
like,
I can't.
You better fucking not.
Because it's literally eating it.
Yeah.
Dang, that's crazy. Was there any issues you did have while you owned the car in that time frame?
Like I kind of talked about it. I did have a caliper seize up on me when we were down in Tennessee. That sucked. Car was just old. It was a 2004.
That could happen on
It's a
anything.
20-some-year-old car. I think the boots or like the seals and the pistons of the caliper were getting dry rotted or torn.
Yep.
We drove through a ton of rain on the way down,
Yep.
and one of those pistons just completely seized. Like after like the second night of the show, we were driving back, and I'm just like, this car's pulling really hard. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I get on the road, just glowing. I'm like, holy fuck. So that kind of sucked. Other than that, the mid pipe that was on the car. I burned through a lot of O2 sensors, which sucked because they're expensive. You know, they're like $100 some.
How'd you know no O2 sensor is bad?
Well, one, because it kept shooting it out of the mid pipe. RX8s do this really cool thing where if you take the catalytic converter out of it and you put aftermarket exhaust on it, they like shoot really big flames out of the back. And it's really sick and makes really cool rotary stuff.
Perks for living in Wisconsin.
But it also can cause issues if you have a cheap mid pipe. So the owner that I bought it from put the mid pipe on it. It was like the only thing that was done to the car, which, like I said, is one of the best things you can do for an RX8. So he's heard that, did that.
Yep.
I think he bought like a cheap eBay one. And like the threads for the O2 sensor to go in just completely like blew out.
Oh,
like
man.
So like the O2 sensor was just dangling. And for the longest time, I did just have those whole sensor just zip tied to the bottom of the car. Which is probably why I was running so rich, but rather rich than lean kind of thing.
Sick flames.
It's sick flames. And then I would, because the threads were gone, I took like a big oil drain plug that was like the size of that and put a bunch of like that, like quick steel, like epoxy stuff and just shove it in there and like just put a bunch of epoxy on it. And it lasts about a month until it shot that out. And then it sounded like a freaking straight pipe Honda Civic for a while.
Oh, yeah. It would sound rough when that would pop
loud. That was like the most annoying thing about it. And I finally had Jackson weld a new bung into the mid pipe in it. And it worked great. Ran a lot better after that, too.
I bet.
But outside of that, no, I didn't have any weird issues or problems with that car whatsoever. It was great. Oh, I lied.
Uh-oh.
There was one thing I had to replace kind of when I got it. And again, this is just another like Wisconsin or like northern salt, Rust Belt kind of thing. They have oil cooler. Or they have two oil coolers in the front, like right in the front bumper. And the oil feed line to the one oil cooler, like the fitting on it just like rusted and it was pouring oil out. I was like, God damn, this thing has like a crazy oil leak. So I had to replace that line, which you can really, they're expensive. Those lines are so fucking expensive.
Really?
Yeah, because they're like a really like long, like braided line. Mm-hmm. I got like a Mishimoto one, and after that it was great, but that was kind of a bitch to put in. It was really messy.
Do you feel comfortable confirming that as a Rotary enthusiast that you are in fact part of a cult?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no reason outside of, like I said, there's...
Do you accept the fact that every single time a Mazda article comes out about the Rotary, it's only the same 6 people that are convinced the Rotary will come back that are posting these stories?
Listen, I don't think anyone is fully convinced. We just have really high hopes.
Let me just...
There's a piece there that's just hoping.
Let me just spit this out, because there's one guy on Our Cars who I went to his profile, and anytime he could make a case for the Rotary coming back, he has.
Sure.
And I follow him now just to see what posts, and it's always about the Rotary. And so a few months ago, he made one that said, Mazda CTO says company is ready to go on new Rotary-powered sports car if they can make a good business case. And the top comment is, if they can make a good business case. So basically, it isn't going to happen, as everyone with a brain would expect.
Oh, man.
That's a good question, though. How was the Rotary community, and how do you compare it to, like, other car communities that you've been in?
I think it's one of those things where everyone who is really in it understands. Like, it is kind of like that cult mentality of like, this is our group. Welcome to our group. This is what to expect. These are the rules to abide by.
It's like
if
AAA.
you don't do these rules, you're gonna have a fucking horrible time.
Kind of like the Marines.
Yeah. Because it was so funny. I know I've told this probably on here a bit, but it's like I bought the car. I posted about buying the car, posted what we were going to be doing with the car, and I got flooded with messages like immediately, like, make sure you do this. You have to do this. And there's this one guy, he was like, he sent me like a fucking novel and like pictures and links to shit to buy. And it kind of came across of like, at first he was like, please don't fucking like you don't really know what you got yourself into kind of thing. I don't want to see you put the RX8 in a bad light because you don't know what you're doing. And it kind of came across a little arrogant at first.
Yeah.
But then I kind of like looked into it and like realized like he's right. He's like, these cars do get a lot of fucking bad rep.
Yep.
And it's like, I can understand why it gets annoying, especially because like at the time what we were doing with it, it was going to be put in front of a lot of eyes. And it was like, oh, they're just going to put this fucking platform on blast and it's just going to cause a lot of shit. And oh, they're going to say the RX8 is horrible, that kind of stuff. And he didn't want that. So he was like trying to help me. And he ended up being like a really awesome guy. Met up with him at Gatlinburg that one year. And we went cruising in the mountains together with his RX8, which was a beautiful car. And honestly, I owe a lot of probably the good success that I had with car to him and the people that reached out initially to say, here's what you're going to want to do. Just trust us kind of thing. So I'd say the community was freaking awesome. It's like one of those things where it's like, hey, we're all in this together. Let's make sure we all have a good time and help each other out because there's really nothing else like this out there. Like where else are you going to go?
So the real hard question
Yeah.
before we finish it up is, what is the difference between RX-8 enthusiasts accepting the disposition that they're in and Subaru WRX enthusiasts accepting the disposition that they're in?
I
You
got it.
sound like the same people.
I know.
But there's a key difference. The RX-8s, you follow what you need to do. You work on them. You did the mods you needed. Good car. Subaru, you follow what you need to do. The fucker still blows up. And that's the key difference, I think.
We need what's his name? Is it Shmi?
Dude, we can get whoever we want on this podcast. I would love to talk to him about Subarus because everyone I know in the world.
What was the story you just had? You had a story of somebody talking about.
Right over here, there's we in one of the units that's over here. They had a Subaru outside. And I was like, "Hey, it looks pretty good." He's like, "Yeah, got like airlift 3P and stuff on it, and just some wheels, and it's on its third motor." And I'm like, "Whoa!"
It's like a 2014.
Yeah, it's
10-year-old.
like what? He's like, "Yeah, I was driving, but it just blew up." And he's like, you know, though, And I was like, yeah, I know. But he's like so nonchalant about it. And then he's like, yeah, the white one next to it, that's mine too. That one actually blew up too. I'm like, what? This is what I'm saying, dude. This is a real life conversation that I had, and it's like this every single time. And then people give me so much shit about talking crap.
I will say it's like the amount of you run it, and it maybe it's just like the pool that we pull from. I don't know. It's like I talked to a lot of Rotary guys and gals, and have met a lot of people who have had Rotaries, and it's like I would say it's every now and then it's like, oh yep, I'm doing a rebuild, but a lot of times it's like, well, I wanted to port it, or I wanted to REW swap it, or I wanted to do something like this. So it's like I pulled the engine out, and it's like every now and then it's like, oh yeah, I had a catastrophic issue with my Rotary. Right. But it does seem like every single Subaru person is like, I've done this 10 times.
I would, if you guys are gonna go to Slam Dunk Gatlinburg, number one, please come check out the booth. We're putting a lot of love into it. But number two, if you are a Subaru owner and you have modified your WRX and you have not had issues with it, and you're above 100,000 miles, I want to talk to you. I want to understand this, because I've run into a bunch of Subaru people and I hear the same thing, but I try not to share it all, because then I just feel like people think that we don't like Subarus. I love Subarus. I think Subarus are some of the best sounding like sport tuner cars you can buy. Like with a nice exhaust, I think they sound insane. They look insane. I think they look really good too, but they just seem to blow up quite a bit. Would you say per capita WRX blows up more than an RX-8?
I'm not a numbers guy. I would love to see the analytics of Subarus and their reliability issues
Per
of like
capita.
the
Subarus,
WRX
the Rotaries.
STIs, and that would be so interesting. To me.
It's got to be a percentage, because I was just thinking, like, as I was kind of saying the last thing, it's like, okay, well, I talked to way more Subaru people than I probably talked to Rotary people, just because there's fewer far between.
Right.
So it's like that percentage is probably a little bit skewed, but yeah, it'd be kind of interesting.
Alex, you had a STI.
I did.
You also had RX-7.
I did.
What was the lifespan of that STI? Was there ever an engine swap in it, either before or after you owned it?
No, my STI experience, I had a 2008 hatch,
Nice.
and I was super simple with it. I think I did an exhaust, a shift knob, and an intake, wheels, tires, and coils, and that was it. I didn't touch the engine. particularly because when I bought that car, it came after I sold my Datsun 280Z, and I bought that to be like my daily driver going into the wintertime. So I didn't want to blow it up.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do anything to it.
Right.
But I will say the one thing I remember was the car was a couple owners, no accidents, but I remember having this gosh darn squeak in the front bumper. And for the longest time, I could not figure out why my front bumper squeaked so badly.
Bumper would squeak?
Yeah, and it was just loud enough to where I could hear it on the inside of the car, which should say something
That would
about the
drive
sound.
me
that's
fucking
annoying.
insane.
It
Yeah.
killed me.
I hate
So
it.
it was the springtime, I remember one day, and I had a bad day. It was a bad day. And I go and I pull into the driveway of our house, and it makes that gosh darn squeak. And I'm like, I am going to lose my mind. So I go outside, and I shake the bumper and hear,
Oh my God.
go inside, go into my office, grab a piece of paper, rip it in half, fold it into like eighths, right? Like
Yeah.
eighths. And I go and I pull on like where the fender meets the bumper, like the front, and I pull it down and I put this little piece of paper in there, and then I let it go and it like kind of scrunches back up.
Fix it?
Fixed it.
So it's just like the bumper rubbing against the fender?
Exactly. There's
Oh my
no
God.
like, there must have been like no gasket
Yeah.
or something there had gone over time, but I remember that being like, and I remember selling the car and somebody was like, did you enjoy that car? And I'm like, no. But I said no
Because of that.
because of that. That was the reason I
That's
didn't
insane.
like the car. I have this
Oh,
thing though.
man.
There's like these little things completely outside of Rotaries where it's like the little tiniest thing can drive me up a wall really fast. I can handle
that.
huge problems just fine. Like huge issues with things I almost can take better than
The little
a door not being able to completely seal all the way, and I can see the little like pinch of like the
Yeah.
gasket. You know, I'm like, I'll lose my goddamn shit over that.
I will say, I've owned a Rotary in my lifetime, and I've owned a Subaru in my lifetime. One of those lasted me 6 years. One of those lasted me 3 months. I will let you figure out which one of those lasted me 3 months.
It also, I think, lasted longer in the back parking lot of the shop
Yeah.
than it did on the road because I caught so much shit every Monday at the meeting. Watch that piece of shit Subaru still doing back there.
I was just hoping someone would just take it.
I think you were. I think
Yeah.
it's at multiple
The keys were
points.
in it the whole time.
Yeah, you said if somebody just wants to take, because I remember one of the guys, one of the shop guys was like, "I'll take it," and you're like, "Please take
God.
it."
Yeah. He's like, I do need like the title. I was like, I will bring the title tomorrow. You can just have it.
With that being said, we hope you guys enjoy this format of the podcast. If you like us to talk about a certain subject, please let us know in the comments below. Don't forget, if you don't need car parts but you still want to support, you can actually do that by checking out the website. We've got apparel on the website, and hopefully by the end of this month, you'll actually see that limited edition coffee that we've been working
Yeah.
really, really hard on.
So excited for
which
that.
we're really, really proud of. We're really excited for. If we will see you at Slam F. Gatlinburg, save your pennies and nickels. We got a lot of really cool stuff coming for that, and we appreciate all the support if you're all the way listening at the end. We have one more partner that we'd like to give a shout out to. Gels, please go ahead.
Absolutely. That is, of course, Malco. We've been using Malco products on our vehicles for almost a couple of years now, and they're the ones that we trusted to put on the website and bring on to support the podcast because we do believe in their products, and they work really, really good. I use a ton of their stuff on the RX8, even bringing it to shows, getting her shined up, getting it all buffed and polished and things like that. And it works really freaking good, whether it's from just the quick detailing stuff to their interior stuff. Honestly, their like tire cleaner or tire shine, I guess if you even want to call it that, is some of, I'm not even like just, you know, building it up to build it up. Like some of the best stuff that I've ever used for tires. Like it doesn't make it like slimy, doesn't make it super shiny. It just makes the tires look dark, look like a brand new tire like you would see on like a picture or
Like they
something.
just
like that.
got delivered.
Like they just got delivered. Really fantastic stuff. We made it easy for you guys if you want a quick detailing kit, if you want like the full spa kit, if you're looking just for stuff for interior, glass, wheels, whatever it might be. We put some kits together. You can check them out over at MartiniWorks.com. A little more on the higher end side of things, but you get where you pay for 100%. So we want to go check it out. Check it out on MartiniWorks.com. And of course, thank you so much for Malco for sponsoring the MartiniWorks podcast. Thank you guys. That was fun.
That was
That was a
fun.
good time.
Thanks for teaching us.
Yeah, I miss my RX8.
I'm educated now.
I'll buy you another one.
Yeah?
Race car
Whoa.
time.
They would make a fun track
You did
car.
say you wanted to grip like grip drive
Yeah,
one.
I think a RX8 time attack car would go crazy hard.
It would.
Dude, a 200 treadwear tire on an RX8, you'd never break traction.
I look back at it. It's like, would I wide body it and put it on air again? I don't think so. Glad I did it. Probably won't do it again.
Yeah.
But
Fair.
it is what it is. Thank you all so much. Have a fantastic weekend.
Bye.